Yes. Argentina tiene 40 millones de habitantes.
40 million of inhabitants.
Nosotros nacionalmente sacamos 5 millones de votos.
At the national
No,
level,
el 5% de los votos.
on the national level, we obtain 5% of the votes.
Dentro de que se hace un padrón de toda la población de 18 años para arriba.
This is about the people that are entitled to vote are from 18 years onwards. So the 5% is out of the people who are, eligible to vote.
Sobre la afiliación sindical, los datos no son exactos. No hay,
About the trade union affiliation, they're not very precise, the
pero
figures.
en la industria, aproximadamente un 40% de los trabajadores están afiliados a la sindical.
But in the industrial sector, about 40% of the workers are a member of trade unions. 40%, it's quite high. Yeah.
Es alto para los niveles internacionales,
It's high for the international standard.
pero Argentina llegó a tener el 70%.
But for Argentina it's not much because Argentina used to have 70% of trade union affiliation.
O sea, subió en los últimos años, pero no al nivel que tenía en los 80.
It went up over the last years, but it was not the same level as in the 80s.
Hay un 35% de los trabajadores que están en negro sin ningún tipo de registro.
The 35% of the workers are in the informal sectors. There isn't any kind of not figures because they're informal sector. 35% of the workers.
Sí, no sé si más o menos.
I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Simon. I'm Simon Hardy. I'm a member of Lambeth Left Unity. 3 questions. So, my first question is that, first of all, it's great you've come over to talk to us because for someone who's part of an organisation which is trying to build a united left in Britain, it's really good to hear what you're doing in Argentina, and it shows you what is possible. The question I had was around the campaigns that the FIT is involved in. Because as you said, Argentina is currently going through quite a strong economic growth in some areas. Poverty is going down, there's more employment, although it's precarious employment. So what is the FIT involved in terms of the actual campaigns and struggles at the moment, which is getting into hearing? I'd like to hear more about that. Second question is, and you touched on it earlier, what is the future for the FIT? Because you've got these 3 organisations together, they're getting over 1 million votes, they've got MPs elected, there's a lot of workers who are now looking to the FIT as a credible political party of the left. Are you going to form a common political party? If not, isn't there the danger that your electoral coalition might split along the 3 groups? And what effect will that have on the workers that have voted for you? Because we have a situation, for instance, now in Ireland, where there was a united left in the elections, it did very well, it got MPs, and then it just collapsed, it just split in 2 because the groups pulled it apart. How can you stop that from happening in Argentina? And the final question is, you mentioned Peronism, very powerful political influence in the Argentinian working class. Probably most workers would consider themselves Peronist workers, or they're in Peronist affiliated trade unions. And Peronism is a very national, sometimes quite reactionary political ideology. How are you going to win over workers who are currently consider themselves Peronist? Is it just that you criticise Peronism and say how bad it is, or are you going to have joint campaigns with them? Are you going to form joint campaigns of struggle? What's your idea to go from 1.2 million votes to 2 million votes to 3 million votes to actually getting more people to support your organisation?
La primera pregunta de Simon, los puntos de campaña fueron un programa de reivindicaciones y con consignas también transicionales.
demandas, sí, ¿qué tipo de demandas?
No, de todo. Bueno, explico. Algo estábamos pasando en los spots.
See, before we started the talk, there was a kind of videos on the election campaign.
Había, entre las demandas estaba el salario mínimo igual a la canasta familiar.
One of the demands is salary equal to the family basket.
La lucha contra toda la forma de precarización laboral.
The struggle against the precarious work.
Y lo que se llama el fin del impuesto al salario.
And also we are calling for the end of the tax to income.
Que es una tasa que antes pagaba solo el 7% de los trabajadores y ahora paga el 30%.
The tax to income is income tax. No? But before was only paid by 7% of the population, and now the government increased the amount. What's happening now is if you earn less, you have to pay that income tax.
La lucha por la democratización de los sindicatos.
We also make campaign for the democratization of the unions.
Contra la entrega del petróleo.
Against giving the oil to the multinationals.
El derecho al aborto.
Right for abortion.
Y el planteo que cerraba todas las consignas, que era la necesidad de una alternativa política de la clase trabajadora.
And the final slogan was for the workers' political alternative.
Muchos trabajadores lo que decían era que los únicos que hablábamos de los problemas de la clase obrera éramos el Frente de Izquierda.
Some workers said when we were in political campaign that the only people who talk about the real problems that workers face in the factory, it was the FIT.
Después podemos volver a pasar los spots y les voy diciendo lo que dicen.
We can show some of the videos later and we can tell you what they say.
Bueno, en la segunda pregunta.
The second question.
El futuro del FIT es algo que está abierto.
About the future of the FIT is open.
Que tendrá que ver con el desarrollo de la situación política.
That is also related to the development of the political situation in the country.
Nuestro planteo, el del PTS.
Our standing point, the PTS.
Es que abrir la discusión para poner en pie un gran partido revolucionario de la clase trabajadora.
Is that we have to open the debate for the building of the workers revolutionary party.
Un frente es un medio, pero no alcanza.
The front is a mean to reach something, but it's not an end of itself.
Y que ha sido muy importante para intervenir en el terreno de las elecciones.
It has been very, very important in order to intervene in the electoral terrain.
Porque hemos concentrado la agitación política.
Because we could concentrate the political agitation, the agitational activities.
Y hemos ayudado a la experiencia política de los trabajadores con las fuerzas políticas de la clase dominante.
And we also played a role in the political fight, if you like, between workers and the ruling class.
Pero si queremos intervenir en los hechos decisivos de la lucha de clases,
but if we want to intervene in the decisive political issues,
necesitamos un partido con capacidad de acción.
We need a party which is able to move into action.
Hemos avanzado en ese terreno, pero sabemos que aún es insuficiente.
We made some step forward, but we know it's not enough.
El otro punto que habíamos levantado en la campaña era alertar de que se venía un ajuste sobre los trabajadores.
The other point that we made in the campaign was to warn about a new adjustment plan by the government.
Y efectivamente eso es lo que está pasando.
And this is what we are seeing today.
El crecimiento económico alto quedó en el pasado en Argentina.
The economic growth now is something from the past.
Hoy están cayendo las reservas económicas del Banco Central.
The foreign reserve in the country are going down.
Que pasaron de 50.000 a 30.000 millones de dólares.
From 50 billion to 30.
Y hay una inflación superior al 25% anual.
The inflation is more than 25%.
Que está carcomiendo el salario.
And this is kind of eroding the salary.
Aunque se logran aumentos importantes en las paritarias a los sectores sindicalizados.
There are some increase of salaries for those who are in trade unions and in the collective agreements, but that increase is after taken away, if you like, by the inflation.
Y hoy está cayendo el salario real.
Now the salary is going down.
Además, hay muchos puntos de crisis estructurales en la economía.
There are many structural point of crisis in the economy in Argentina.
Quizá han visto en los noticieros que Buenos Aires se quedó sin luz durante 2 semanas.
I don't know if you have seen in the news that Argentina was without electricity, without power for 2 weeks.
Ya que las empresas que se quedaron con la privatización de la luz no invirtieron en la distribución, en modernizar la distribución de la
And
luz.
this is because the companies who are now owner of they own the electricity, the privatized companies, they haven't invested a single penny.
Las privatizaciones también fueron un desastre en el petróleo y el gas.
The privatization were also, terrible in the oil industry and the gas as well,
Y en el sistema ferroviario.
and in the railway system as well.
Y nada de esto revirtieron los Kirchner.
So none of that, the only privatization took place in the 90s, but the Kirchner government didn't do anything in order to reverse the situation.
Por eso hoy se ve muy claro que había una contradicción entre el discurso que el gobierno tenía y la realidad que vive la clase trabajadora.
For that reason, now you can see that the Kirchner government, there was a contradiction between the narrative of making concessions and the real changes in the countries.
Y hay una contradicción también entre la política de ajuste del gobierno, que es acompañada por las otras fuerzas capitalistas, y que los trabajadores tienen aspiraciones a mejorar.
And also it's a contradiction because the adjustment planned by the government, but the workers, they have kind of hopes and aspirations.
Lo último, la pregunta del peronismo.
About peronism, the question on the peronism.
Hablar del peronismo podríamos hacer un seminario de varios meses.
We can have a seminar on peronistas, could last for months.
Porque no ha sido igual a lo largo de su historia.
Because it hasn't been the same, along throughout its history.
Ha dado desde a las guerrilleras,
It had guerrilla wings,
la mayor guerrilla urbana de América Latina,
the major urban guerrilla in Latin
que
America.
decía luchar por la patria socialista,
That they said that they were fighting for the socialist fatherland.
hasta bandas fascistas que mataban a los izquierdistas.
And also you had right-wing fascist groups.
Hoy mantiene esa heterogeneidad,
So today it's still very heterogeneous,
pero su base social no se reivindica identitariamente peronista. La base social de los trabajadores no se reivindica, que no se siente peronista.
Yeah, but the workers, they don't feel themselves Peronist. They don't identify themselves as Peronists.
Los trabajadores que votaban a Cristina la votaban pero sin considerarse ellos peronistas.
So the workers voted for Cristina, but didn't think of themselves as Peronists.
Más bien se venía de una situación de apoliticismo.
They were coming from a political situation.
Eso no significa que nosotros no planteamos políticas de frente único a los sindicatos.
Doesn't mean that we don't fight for United Front policies in the trade unions.
Cuando fue el paro del 20 de noviembre, la izquierda tuvimos un protagonismo muy importante.
For example, during the general strike in November 2012, the left played a very important role.
Los principales piquetes estaban protagonizados por nosotros,
The main pickets were organized by the left,
acompañando el llamado de los sindicatos.
and we were kind of supporting the call made by the unions.
Sí, permanentemente los llamamos a que organicen planes de lucha contra la política de ajuste del gobierno.
And we call all the time for them to call action plans against the privatization and attack to the working class.
Más allá de que nosotros tenemos lugares de responsabilidad entre los trabajadores,
This is by the fact that we have, in some places, we have more responsibility in the trade unions.
donde en los shops, digo, ¿no?
Sí, yo sé, sí.
Donde algunas fábricas que tenemos la dirección tienen 2.000 o 1.500 trabajadores.
For example, we are in the shop steward committee in some factories of 2,000 workers.
1.500,
In other factories of 1,000 workers or 1,500 workers, 1,500 workers. We also have roles in the shop steward committee.
lo cual hace que todo el tiempo nos dirijamos a trabajadores más politizados y menos politizados también.
So that means we are in contact all the time with workers. Some of them they are more political than others.
Pero lo significativo es que insisto con esto, que una franja de los trabajadores está yendo hacia la izquierda.
But the main point is I would like to stress this section of workers is moving towards the left.
y una parte está empezando a tomar una militancia revolucionaria activa.
Some of them started to experience, to do some militant revolutionary activity.
Nosotros construimos agrupaciones políticos sindicales.
We build up groups, trade union groups, campaigns, but they are very kind of militant.
En decenas de fábricas.
In a dozen of factories.
Que creemos que incluso se van a acrecentar en el próximo periodo.
And we think that will increase the number of organized trade union activity.
Bueno, no sé si más o menos.
I don't know if I'm kind of answering your question.
Taif.
I will speak on Peronism. the problem with Peronism is it is the biggest, and has been since the Second World War, the biggest obstacle to the working class having an independent strategy. And just because workers may not think they're Peronists anymore, doesn't mean they're not still politically led by Peronism. And this is the problem. Now, you describe the government in decay. 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 You describe the government in decay.
because we both have an opportunity here to form a new workers' party, and also we have 3 or 4 organisations, including my own, the League for the Fifth International, involved in revolutionary unity talks with the aim of trying to create something bigger, a revolutionary party. And I think it is important because in Britain it has become fashionable to say there's a space to the left of the neoliberal and pseudo-crypto-neoliberal leaders of the Labour movement, but that space has to be a reformist space. And it seems that in Argentina they have not taken this advice, and I'd like to quote, which you won't have to translate hopefully, quote some of the election platform, because I think it is very good in fact. It says, the FIT calls for a popular organisation in the neighbourhoods and in the places of work and study to fight against the trigger-happy police and human trafficking, to combat the penetration of drug trafficking with police support in the neighbourhoods, or police and political complicity with organised crime. No to the municipal police and the mayors of corruption and crime. To put an end to the leaders' apparatus, it is necessary to end the social misery that capitalism causes and replace the repressive apparatus of the state that is at the service of the exploiters by organisations of the workers themselves on the path of struggle for their own government. Down with Project X and espionage and infiltration of the people's organisations for the dissolution of the intelligence agencies. And then it ends with, uniting the revolutionary left with the workers' movement will change the workers into a leading force. The first step to change the history of the country and open up the perspective of revolution and of the transition to socialism in the country and in the world. And I think that is what we may say, because it is a compromise between 3 groups, it is not more detailed on the need for workers' defence groups to protect these revolutionary organisations and so on against repression. It nevertheless is a fairly clear statement of intent that we're standing in an election because we believe we need a revolution, and it's a step on that way. And I think that, people like Socialist Resistance should look at Argentina and say, no, there is another way. You don't have to hide your politics in order to gain support amongst the working class. You can be honest with the working class and take a step forward. I think also it is a rejoinder to those people who say that the sects, the political sects of the far left, have been a waste of time. Here, clearly, what the 3 organisations have done through a period where the workers were in retreat is carried on to give a lead, is to try to work together with the aim of creating something bigger, not dropped their revolutionary politics, and been able to actually combine with the workers when the workers' movement comes back on the rise. So I think that is a really important message that we should learn and remember over the coming months and years, because this is happening internationally. In Germany, in France it's happened with the MPA, and there is a continuing discussion there. In Germany with the new anti-capitalist organisation, in Britain as well. And I think that one question I will end with to Christian is, there is no call for a new international in the platform, but what is your view with regards to actually forming a new workers' international, which we haven't seen for some 50 or 60 years in Britain?
Take 2 together.
quieran, si no contesto. Okay,
my question really followed on from Simon's, which is about how the workers on the left front functions at a local level. Can you join the workers on the left front as an individual, or do you have to join one of the parties that makes up the workers on the left front? And does the FIT meet together as a organisation, or does it meet separately? And I say that because people might know that the left front in France that did very well in the elections, but everything you hear about the left front in France, the PCF, which is a member of the left front, which is the old Stalinist party in France, meets on its own and recruits to itself in the left front. The left social democracy recruits to itself and meets on its own. The various anti-capitalist fractions in the left front meet by themselves and to themselves, and it doesn't have any sort of united organisation. So is the FIT more like that, or is it more like a united organisation? Because obviously the problem in France is actually turning the left front into a political organisation as opposed to an alliance. And really a question is how the FIT functions in that sense.
Bueno, primero la pregunta del compañero.
Your question.
Hay una posición genérica de que todos estamos por una internacional de la clase trabajadora y todos nos reivindicamos de la cuarta internacional fundada por Trotsky, los tres partidos que formamos el frente. En nuestro caso, el PTS es parte de una tendencia internacional.
There is kind of generic position, if you like, that we all, the three parties in the FIT, we are Trotskys, we are for the Fourth International, created by Trotsky, and within this is kind of a generic position, and within that we are part of the international organization, the Partido Trotskista, and we have sister organizations in Brazil, in Chile, Bolivia, Venezuela, Mexico,
Costa Rica, Brasil dije, ¿no?
Yeah, Brazil is
México, Estado español,
Spain,
Alemania y Francia.
Germany and France.
Y Chile. Y planteamos la construcción de un movimiento por una internacional de la revolución socialista.
And we call for a movement for the Republic for International.
Hemos editado recientemente un manifiesto.
We also have recently published a manifesto
donde hacemos este llamado en base a ciertas discusiones relevantes que hay en la izquierda hoy.
And we made this call around some of the most important discussions that are taking place on the left.
Bueno, pero que supera las expectativas de esta reunión poder desarrollar esto.
Yeah, but this is beyond the scope, if you like, of this meeting.
Los invito a leerlo, está traducido al inglés en la
We have translated.
What he is asking is whether the FIT is calling for that or whether just your party is calling for that.
Bueno, nosotros llamamos, en el FIT no hay acuerdo sobre esto.
Yes,
En el FIT no hay acuerdo sobre esto. Es un llamado que hacemos. ¿No?
yes, it's an agreement over this point in the FIT. This is our call.
Claro.
Claro. Yes, it's a discussion within the FIT.
La pregunta de Stuart, no, el FIT es un frente de tres partidos.
Yeah, the FIT is an alliance, it's a front of the three parties.
Que aparte se expresa como frente en muchos sectores sindicales y del movimiento estudiantil.
But it's also expressed or works in trade union places and in the students.
Pero no hay afiliación individual.
There is no individual affiliation, but FIT intervenes in trade unions and among the students as a FIT, but there is no individual affiliation to the FIT.
So you can't join as an individual.
No, como individuo no hay afiliación individual.
There's no, yes, no individual affiliation.
Sí, hacemos muchas campañas en común
There are a lot of common campaigns.
y intervenimos en las marchas con cortejos comunes.
We have the same column in the demonstrations.
Pero también hay veces que tenemos diferencias políticas importantes.
Sometimes there are political differences among the FIT.
Por ejemplo, ahora frente a los levantamientos policiales en Argentina,
For example, in Argentina there were police mutinies
en 21 de las 24 provincias del
in
país,
21 out of 24 provinces in the country.
y aunque hicimos una declaración común del frente,
And we did a common declaration, as a FIT.
hemos tenido diferencias.
We had different policies with differences around this issue.
Nosotros cuestionamos los levantamientos policiales
We challenge the political mutinies,
y explicamos que los policías no son trabajadores de uniforme,
and we said that the police force is not workers with uniform,
sino miembros de un aparato represivo del Estado capitalista.
but they are part of the repressive, apparatus of the state.
Esta posición no es compartida por algunos de nuestros socios del FIT.
And this position is not shared with other members of FIT.
Bueno, esto no quiere decir que desde el punto de vista del PTS no haya que abrir una discusión sobre la necesidad de un partido revolucionario.
Sí, but this doesn't mean that we don't have to open a debate on the need for the revolutionary party.
¿Y cuál es el programa y la estrategia que tiene que tener ese partido?
How should the strategy and the program of that party?
Nosotros no consideramos que somos el PTS ya el partido
We
revolucionario.
don't think that the PTS, we are now the revolutionary party.
Eso todavía tenemos que probarlo en la práctica.
That has to be proved in practice.
Aunque somos una organización de la fuerza del FIT la que más influencia tiene en la clase obrera industrial.
Although within the FIT, we are out of the three organizations in the FIT, we are the one with the strongest work in the trade union, in the workers' movement.
En Argentina había mucho escepticismo sobre la capacidad de recuperación de la clase obrera.
The people were very skeptical about the possibility for the working class to recover.
Y tuvimos el mérito de entrar fuerte cuando empezó el crecimiento económico.
So that we started to build trade union work at the very beginning. It was quite difficult. People didn't think that was kind of something right to do.
Hicimos un trabajo contra la corriente cuando muchos se ilusionaron con el kirchnerismo.
We did kind of a work against the stream with many people were kind of illusion in Kirchnerism.
Y no caímos en la tentación de irnos con la oposición patronal como se hizo una parte de la izquierda.
We didn't go with the bourgeois opposition. Some people in the left they went with the bourgeois opposition. We didn't do that.
Estuvimos sembrando los últimos años,
We've been harvesting, if you like, over the last years.
pero no pasivamente,
But this was not a passive work.
sino participando en todos los conflictos de la clase trabajadora y la juventud.
We participated every single struggle in the working class sector, in the youth.
Eso nos ha permitido hoy ser una referencia superior.
That allow us to be seen as a kind of reference.
Nosotros preferimos en los grados de unidad avanzar a partir de la madurez real que hay.
We prefer to move forward from the maturity in each situation, in each working place.
No queremos crear la ilusión de un grado de unidad que no es real.
And we don't want to create the illusion that is a great unity when it is not.
Creemos que eso sería lo que desilusionaría a los seguidores del FIT.
I think if we create the expectation that we are more united than we are, that will be people will
Get disillusioned.
there is disillusion.
Aunque no descartamos que según hechos de la lucha de clases el FIT mismo se pueda transformar en algo superior.
But we don't rule out that if the situation develops, the FIT can be, bigger or grow.
No sé si Stuart más o menos le contesta.
Right. Are there any other questions anyone has?
Hi, my name's James, member of the Lambeth branch of the Socialist Party. I'd just like to start by saying thank you to Lucky and the other groups involved for organising this meeting. I've enjoyed it very much so far, and fraternal greetings from the Lambeth and Southwark branch of the Socialist Party. The Socialist Party, which is part of the CWI, the England Wales section of the CWI, is engaged in a project at the moment here called the Trade Union Socialist Coalition, which is coming together of various different socialist groups and also trade unions such as the RMT, Transport Workers Union, which is one of the most militant unions in this country, as well as various other trade union branches, regions, individuals, both rank and file and leadership. I think for us the most important thing in putting together a new left formation has to be being able to appeal to and bring with you wide sections of the working class. And the way that we've attempted to do that is through the trade unions in this country by trying to bring them into this United Front formation task. So I had a couple of questions arising out of this. By the way, I would just also express to the left unity comrades in the room, Tusk will be standing in the upcoming elections and we would like to enter into discussions with you. I think we have made a couple of efforts at contact, but I think we've maybe gone through the wrong channel, so if you could let us know what the best way to discuss would be, that would be appreciated. If not under the one umbrella, then certainly coming to some kind of agreement if you do want to stand, if you don't stand against each other. But my two questions would be, first of all, as regards the rest of the left in Argentina, are there left groups that are outside of the Peronist tradition and also outside of FIT? And what is their relationship to FIT? Do they cause problems, or are they standing in solidarity with it, supporting from the outside? And the second question would be with regards to FIT's backing in the trade union movement in Argentina. What concrete backing is FIT getting at this stage in terms of, for example, any kind of affiliation, any kind of formal backing or public pronouncements, funding, and providing feet on the ground?
See your role as a radical revolutionary deputy in the parliament, like what actually, what you see the value is of your role and your other elected representatives, what you spend your time doing, how you link with the rest of the organisation, how you link with the struggles, a little bit about that maybe would be...
Sobre la izquierda en Argentina, la pregunta del compañero. Hay un sector, se fue con el gobierno, que es el viejo Partido Comunista.
Yes, about the left in Argentina. One sector is with the government, which is the old Communist Party in Argentina, is with the government.
Hay después un sector que llamamos la izquierda autonomista.
There is another sector with the autonomist left.
Que ahora se empezó a participar electoralmente.
Now they started to participate in the elections.
Pero le fue mal.
But they didn't do very well in the elections.
Y después hay un partido que también se reivindica de origen trotskista, que es el MST.
There is another party who claims to be Trotsky, with the MST.
Que se alió a variantes de centro izquierda y también le fue muy mal.
That party was in alliance with the center-left forces, and they didn't do that well in the elections.
Sure. I'm ever so sorry. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought you made that description of those parties in the introduction. I thought that there were 5 trade union bureaucracies.
Yes.
Like
I've answering your question. I've been answering your question as to who was outside the FIT.
No, ahora the left party.
The left.
Que le fue mal.
Yeah. So those left formation didn't do well in the elections.
También hay un partido maoísta que se llama Partido Comunista Revolucionario.
There is a Maoist party which is called PCR, Partido Revolucionario, but they didn't do
Hoy en un
well.
bloque con el MST.
Now it's in alliance with the MST, as just mentioned,
mal.
but they're not in a good shape.
Ese sector apoyó a las patronales agrarias en el 2008.
Because that sector supported the agribusiness sector of the bourgeoisie during the crisis.
Y quedó muy desacreditado.
And they are very, very discredited after that.
Pero existe.
But those are the forces within the left.
Por eso lo peculiar de Argentina es que la izquierda que se reivindica anticapitalista y de origen trotskista es la que hoy es mayoritaria.
The thing the important thing, or what is a merit within the left, is that the majority of the left is the left that claims itself to be revolutionary and capitalist. That's the main forces in the left.
No sé si más o menos. Sobre la contabilidad de los sindicatos, el movimiento sindical argentino es particular como el de cada país.
Yes, about the trade union movement in Argentina, it has its peculiarities as any trade union movement in the world.
Su estructura es el sindicato y los delegados de base y comisiones internas.
is organization is a trade union and shop steward and rank and file committees, factory committees.
Donde los delegados a los comités de base votan todos los trabajadores afiliados y no afiliados.
So for the trade union representatives, everybody votes, doesn't matter, regardless if they are affiliated to the union or not.
No en todos los sindicatos se votan esos delegados igual.
But in the vote for those trade union representatives are not taking place in the same way in all the working places.
A veces se vota por sector, a veces por lista completa.
Yes, in some places is a vote in one kind of section of the factory. For example, people who do the assembly, or other people who do all the kind of welding or whatever by skills, if you like. And in another trade unions is all together.
La medida objetiva que tenemos es que hemos logrado la dirección de varias comisiones internas.
So we are in the leadership in several shop steward committees.
Que como nunca en los últimos 2 años venimos haciendo listas opositoras.
That we have been taking part in the opposition list of the last 2 years.
Que en Argentina no es que es algo fácil.
It's not something very easy to do in Argentina.
Para explicar, en la industria, cuando controla la burocracia sindical el sindicato y detectan que alguien es de izquierda, lo echan.
For example, in the industrial sector, when the trade union bureaucracy, they see that someone is on the left, they fight them.
Arregla con las patronales.
They find bosses to fire
the
them.
bosses. They sign an agreement with. Yeah.
Esto es muy frecuente.
This is very, very common in Argentina.
Cuando se llega a lograr visibilidad es que hubo un trabajo previo de mucho tiempo.
So when you really are on the public eye, because it's a very, very long work behind that.
Entonces hemos sacado entre el 20 y el 35% en varias elecciones sindicales.
So in some trade union elections, we obtain between 25 and 30% of the votes.
Sí, en varias elecciones sindicales. Esa es la medida objetiva.
This is kind of the measurement.
Nosotros hacemos trabajo sindical permanentemente.
We do trade union work all the time.
Lo importante es que ahora muchos trabajadores que apoyaban sindicalmente a los sectores combativos se han organizado haciendo la campaña del FIT.
The new thing is the workers who used to vote to the left for the shop steward, they organize themselves around doing campaign for the FIT.
Por ejemplo, en la fábrica Kraft, alrededor de 50 trabajadores militaron la campaña.
For example, in the Kraft factory, about 50 workers at that factory, they did political campaign for the FIT.
Iban a las otras plantas de la zona a repartir volantes, materiales.
They went to other factories in the same kind of industrial belt of Buenos Aires to handing, leaflet and doing campaign.
Y eso pasó en varias otras fábricas.
And this also was the case in other factories.
Es la base de una militancia no solo económica, sino política en la izquierda de los trabajadores.
It's a militancy which is not only trade unionist, but also political.
De eso, un sector se plantea una lucha revolucionaria consciente.
A section of that, of those workers, they think they can do that revolutionary task.
Pero son niveles de evolución en la conciencia política.
So there is different level on the political consciousness of the workers.
No sé si más o menos le contesto al compañero.
I don't know if I'm answering you.
Yes. Bueno, la segunda pregunta. La huelga de 2012 fue de 24 horas.
The strike in November 2012 is a 24-hour strike.
Y pese a que lo llamó un tercio de los sindicatos nada más.
It was called only by a third of the trade unions.
Fue una huelga con acatamiento masivo.
It was very, very high, it was very, very solid, the strike.
Nosotros estábamos en un piquete en la avenida Panamericana.
We were in a picket in the Panamericana, it's like the M25 if you like.
Tiene 6 carriles de un lado y 6 del otro.
And there are 6 lines on one side and 6 lines on the other side.
Y es donde pasa todo lo que va al norte de Buenos
And
Aires.
it's the main traffic for to the north of the Buenos Aires
La principal
province.
zona industrial de la provincia.
It's the main industrial belt of the province.
Cuando los trabajadores luchan y cortan esa avenida, se hacen colas de kilómetros y kilómetros de autos.
So when the workers go on a picket on that in that motorway, they have hours of queue,
Que se hace muchas veces.
and it's quite common.
Se arman kilómetros y kilómetros
So
de
there
cola.
are kilometers of queue, no traffic jam.
Esta vez no había autos. Estábamos en el piquete, pero no había
We were in the picket,
quien pedirles pasar.
We were in the picket, but there were no cars.
Yo estaba en el piquete y miraba para el norte y no venía nadie, miraba para el sur y no venía
in the
nadie.
picket and nobody was there because of the strike.
Los trabajadores de muchas fábricas decían, no pude llegar,
Many workers said, I couldn't make it.
no pude llegar al trabajo.
I couldn't make it to the work. I couldn't go to work, couldn't go to work.
Pero la realidad es que hubo una voluntad de hacer un pronunciamiento político contra el gobierno.
But there was a will to make a political statement against the government,
Tanto contra la precarización laboral como con el impuesto a la ganancia.
or against the precarious labor condition, but also against the income tax.
Porque en el impuesto se iba aproximadamente un salario anual.
Because you pay about 1 month, the salary of the month in the income, in the whole year. 1 month goes to that.
Había mucha bronca con esto con los trabajadores.
So workers were very upset about this income tax.
Lo interesante de ese paro fue que la mayoría de los que pararon habían votado al gobierno un año antes.
The interesting point about the strike is most of the workers on strike in 2012, they had voted for the government in 2011.
Ese descontento fue capitalizado en parte por sectores de oposición de derecha dentro del peronismo.
So the discontent was also kind of used by right-wing sections of the peronism.
Pero una fracción lo capitalizamos del frente de
But
izquierda.
we managed to attract some of those workers with discontent with the Kirchner government.
El razonamiento de muchos trabajadores era muy interesante. Decían, cuando luchamos, los que nos están apoyando son los de la izquierda.
Some workers made a point, they explained to us, that they said, when we are on struggle, the ones who support us is the left.
Si la izquierda tiene diputados, vamos a tener más apoyo.
So if the left has MPs, our struggle will have better support as well.
Van a estar con nosotros apoyando las huelgas.
They will support when we are on strike.
Claro, y aparte, muchos trabajadores y delegados obreros fueron los candidatos principales del Frente de Izquierda.
And many of the workers were candidates themselves on the list, on the FIT list.
Por ejemplo, en la provincia de Jujuy es un trabajador que trabaja recolector de residuos.
For example, in Jujuy province, the main one of the candidates on the list, the first, the one who is heading the list, he cleans the streets.
En la ciudad de Buenos Aires, el candidato a senador era el delegado más conocido de los trabajadores del subte.
In Buenos Aires city, the candidate is a very well-known worker, which is a trade union activist in the tube Buenos Aires.
Es muy conocido porque los trabajadores del subte han dado luchas muy importantes.
He is very well known because the tube workers have been in very important struggle over the last few years.
Consiguieron las 6 horas de trabajo.
They worked 6 hours. They used to work 8 hours, and they went on.
Y terminar con toda la tercerización laboral.
They managed
El sistema de
to
subcontratación.
work now 6 hours. They used to work 8 hours, but now they managed to get 6 hours per day, and also against the privatization of